The emergency room waiting area at Memorial Hospital smelled like antiseptic and desperation. James Mitchell sat in the corner, his coffee long cold, staring at the white walls that had witnessed countless prayers and tears. He'd been there for 6 hours, ever since the call came that his teenage son had been in an accident. "Excuse me, sir?" The voice was small, uncertain. James looked up to find a girl standing beside his chair. She couldn't have been older than 8, wearing an oversized hospital gown that dragged on the floor. Her head was wrapped in a colorful scarf, and in her trembling hands, she clutched a metal container covered in peeling stickers. "Can you help me?" she asked, her dark eyes pleading. "I need someone strong." James blinked, trying to focus through his exhaustion and worry. "What do you need, sweetheart? This won't open." She held up the container, an old cookie tin decorated with faded rainbows and unicorns. "I've been trying for days, but my hands—" She paused, flexing her small fingers. "They don't work right anymore. The medicine makes them weak." Something about her quiet dignity, the way she carried herself despite obvious frailty, pierced through James's fog of anxiety. He sat up straighter. "Let me take a look." The girl hesitated, pulling the tin closer to her chest. "It's very important. My mom gave it to me. You have to promise you'll be careful." "I promise," James said gently, holding out his hands. "I'm James, by the way. Lily." She climbed into the chair beside him, her movements careful and deliberate, like every action required conscious thought. "Lily Chun." The tin was old, its edges rusted shut. James could see where someone, probably this brave little girl, had tried to pry it open, leaving small scratches in the metal. The stickers told a story. Cartoon characters, flowers, a few medical reward stickers that said, "Brave patient." "This is definitely stuck," James said, examining it closely. "How long have you had this?" 3 years. My mom gave it to me right before." Lily's voice trailed off. She adjusted her scarf, and James caught a glimpse of the port in her chest, the telltale sign of long-term treatment. "She said I could only open it when I really needed it. And now I really need it, but I can't." "What's inside?" "I don't know. She never told me, but she said it would help me when things got really hard." Lily's eyes filled with tears that she quickly blinked away. "And things are really hard right now." James felt his throat tighten. He thought about his son Cameron, 17 and invincible until a drunk driver proved otherwise. He thought about all the ways life could shatter in seconds. "Well," he said, pulling out his keychain which had a small folding knife attached, "let's see if we can help you out." "Are you waiting for someone?" Lily asked as James carefully worked the blade around the sealed edge. "You look like you're waiting. My son. He was in an accident this morning. Is he going to be okay?" The question every parent fears. "I hope so. The doctors are still working." Lily nodded solemnly. "Waiting is the worst part. That's what my mom used to say. Not knowing is harder than knowing, even when the knowing is bad." "Your mom sounds wise." "She was." Lily corrected him with the past tense, and James's heart broke a little more. "She was a teacher, 2nd grade. She taught me that being scared is okay, but giving up isn't." With a soft pop, the tin's lid finally gave way. James set down the knife and carefully lifted the edge. "There we go." But Lily didn't immediately look inside. Instead, she stared at the container like it might contain something that would change everything, which James would later realize it did. "What if it's not what I hoped?" she whispered. "Then we'll figure it out together," James found himself saying, surprising himself with the commitment in those words. Lily took a deep breath, the kind that seemed too big for her small frame, and lifted the lid completely. Inside the tin, nestled in tissue paper that had yellowed with age, were several items. Lily's hands shook as she reached for them, one by one. First, a small jade bracelet, clearly old and valuable. The stone gleamed even in the harsh fluorescent light of the waiting room. "This was my grandmother's," Lily breathed. "From China. Mom said it had been passed down for 5 generations. She wore it every day until she slipped it onto her thin wrist where it hung loosely. Until she couldn't wear jewelry anymore because of the IVs. Next, a photograph. Lily picked it up with reverence, her eyes drinking in the image. A beautiful Asian woman with Lily's same warm eyes stood in a classroom, surrounded by children, all of them laughing at something beyond the camera's view. "That's her on her last day of teaching," Lily said softly, "before she got too sick. She loved those kids so much." Then came a small notebook, its pages filled with neat handwriting. Lily opened it carefully, and James could see it was filled with recipes, each one annotated with notes. "Lily's favorite birthday cake," she read aloud, her voice cracking. "Comfort soup for bad days. Saturday morning pancakes." She clutched the notebook to her chest. "She wrote down everything she used to make for me, so I wouldn't forget." But at the bottom of the tin, there was one more item. An envelope, sealed with red wax that had somehow survived intact. Across the front, in the same careful handwriting from the recipe book, "For Lily, when you need it most." Lily's hands shook so badly she couldn't break the seal. "I can't," she whispered. "What if?" "Hey," James said gently. "Whatever's in there, your mom wanted you to have it. She wanted you to know it. Will you read it?" Lily asked suddenly. "I can't. My eyes get blurry from the treatment, and I'm scared, and I just... Can you?" James took the envelope with trembling hands, understanding the weight of this moment. He was about to become the voice of a dead mother speaking to her living daughter. He broke the seal carefully and unfolded the letter inside. The handwriting was shakier than in the recipe book, written by someone whose strength was failing, but whose love remained steady. "My dearest Lily," James began, and had to pause to clear his throat. "If you're reading this, it means I'm not there with you anymore. I'm so sorry, my brave girl. I wanted to be there for everything, your first day of middle school, your graduation, your wedding. I wanted to braid your hair and embarrass you in front of your friends and teach you to drive. But life doesn't always give us what we want. It gave me you, though, and that was more than I ever deserved. You were my miracle, Lily. From the moment you were born, you were magic. I'm writing this because I know things might get worse for you. The doctors explained that what I have could be genetic. There's a chance you might face the same battle I did. I pray every night that you won't. But if you are reading this, if you're sick and scared and feeling alone, I need you to know something. You are not alone. You will never be alone." James had to stop. Lily had pressed her fist against her mouth, trying to hold back sobs. "The person reading this to you, look at them, Lily. Really look at them." Lily turned her tear-stained face toward James, her eyes searching his. "You chose them for a reason. Out of everyone in that hospital, everyone who could have helped you open this tin, you chose this person. Your heart knows things your head doesn't understand yet. Trust that choice. Let them help you. In this tin, I've left you things to remember me by." The bracelet was Grandma's. "Wear it and know that you come from a long line of strong women who survived impossible things. The photo is to remind you that joy exists, even in dark times. The recipes are so you can taste home whenever you need it. But the most important thing I'm leaving you isn't in this tin. It's in your heart. It's the strength I saw in you from day one. The way you face scary things with courage. The way you find light in dark places. If you're sick, fight. Fight with everything you have. Not just for yourself, but for everyone who loves you. There are people who need you, Lily. People who need exactly the kind of love only you can give. To whoever is with my daughter right now, thank you. Thank you for stopping when you could have kept walking. For caring when you could have looked away. For being strong when my daughter needs strength. She's special. I know every parent says that, but Lily truly is. She sees people's hearts. She knows who's safe, who's kind, who's trustworthy. If she chose you, it's because you need her as much as she needs you. Please, if you can, don't let her face this alone. She's already lost so much. She deserves someone in her corner. Lily, my love, my heart, be brave. Love fiercely. Trust the person beside you. And know that wherever I am, I'm loving you. Every rainbow, every beautiful thing you see, that's me, loving you from wherever I am now. You were the best part of my life. Being your mom was my greatest joy and highest honor. Until we meet again, my brave girl. Love always and forever. Mom. P.S. The bracelet has a secret. Press the jade stone, there's a tiny locket inside. I left you one more surprise there. James's voice had broken multiple times during the reading. Tears streamed freely down his face. Lily was sobbing openly now, clutching the bracelet. With shaking fingers, she pressed the jade stone as her mother had instructed. A tiny compartment clicked open, revealing a miniature photo. A newborn Lily in her mother's arms, both of them looking at each other with expressions of pure love. She knew, Lily gasped through her tears. She knew I'd need this. She knew I'd feel alone. Without thinking, James pulled her into his arms. She was so small, so fragile, like holding a bird. But she clung to him with surprising strength, her sobs shaking both of them. You're not alone, James whispered fiercely. Not anymore. A nurse appeared in the doorway. Mr. Mitchell? Your son is out of surgery. James's heart lurched. He stood quickly, but Lily's hand caught his. Go, she said, wiping her eyes. He needs you. Will you be okay? Lily looked down at the items from the tin, scattered around her. I think so. Thank you for opening it, for reading it, for everything. James hesitated, torn between this child who'd somehow become important in the last hour and his own son who needed him. Where are you staying? Who's with you? Ward 6B, Pediatric Oncology. Mrs. Garcia from my foster home dropped me off this morning. She'll pick me up when I'm done with treatment. Foster home, of course. Another piece of this heartbreaking puzzle clicked into place. I'll come find you, James promised, after I see my son, if that's okay. Lily's face lit up with cautious hope. Really? Really? Cameron was in ICU, unconscious but stable. Multiple fractures, internal bleeding that had been repaired, but the doctors were optimistic. James sat beside his son's bed, holding his hand, and felt a complicated mix of relief and guilt. His son would survive. But what about Lily, fighting a battle that might not have such a clear victory? Dad! James jerked awake. He hadn't realized he'd dozed off. Cameron's eyes were barely open, but he was conscious. Hey, buddy. Welcome back. What happened? Car accident. But you're okay. You're going to be okay. Cameron's eyes drifted closed again. Tired. Sleep. I'll be here. But even as James sat vigil over his son, part of his mind was on a little girl 2 floors down, facing her own battle with courage he could barely comprehend. 3 days later, Cameron was moved to a regular room, alert and complaining about hospital food. Both good signs. James had visited Lily every day, bringing her books and puzzles, sitting with her during the brutal chemo sessions that left her pale and nauseated. Why do you keep coming back? She asked on the 3rd day, after a particularly bad reaction to treatment. You don't have to. I'm used to being alone. No one should be used to that, James said, adjusting the cool cloth on her forehead. Besides, I made a promise. Promises get broken all the time. Not mine. Lily studied him with those 2 old eyes. Your son is getting better. I heard the nurses talking. He's going home soon. He is. So you'll forget about me once he's gone. It's okay. Everyone does. James felt anger rise in his chest. Not at Lily, but at every person who'd let this child down, who'd taught her to expect abandonment. Lily, Look at me. She did, reluctantly. Your mom's letter said you chose me for a reason, that I needed you as much as you needed me. She was right. These past few days, sitting with you, it's been the first time since my wife died 2 years ago that I felt like I had a purpose beyond just surviving. Your wife died. Cancer. 3 years after diagnosis. Cameron was 14. It nearly destroyed us both. Is that why you understand? Maybe. Or maybe it's just that when I look at you, I see someone fighting with everything she has. That deserves to be witnessed. To be supported. You deserve someone in your corner, Lily. But I'm not your responsibility. No, James agreed. You're not. But maybe you could be my choice. The social worker assigned to Lily's case was a tired woman named Ms. Rodriguez who'd seen too many children slip through too many cracks. Mr. Mitchell, she said when James approached her about Lily's situation. I understand you've been visiting Lily Chun. I have, and I want to know what her options are. For placement, for care. Ms. Rodriguez sighed. Mr. Mitchell, Lily is a medically complex foster child. She needs someone who can handle frequent hospital stays, treatment schedules, possible end-of-life care. Most families can't or won't take that on. But there must be someone. The Garcias are good people, but they have 6 other foster children. They do their best, but Lily needs more than they can provide. We've been looking for a medical foster home, but she spread her hands helplessly. Resources are limited. What if I wanted to foster her? Ms. Rodriguez's eyebrows shot up. You? Mr. Mitchell, you have your own son recovering from serious injuries. Do you really think? I think that little girl is fighting for her life and doing it alone. I think she deserves better. And I think I can provide it. The process isn't simple. Background checks, home studies, training. I'll do whatever it takes. Ms. Rodriguez studied him for a long moment. Why? You barely know her. James thought about the tin, the letter, the way Lily had looked at him with hope and fear warring in her eyes. Her mother said she chose me for a reason. I'm choosing to trust that. The paperwork took 6 weeks. 6 weeks of background checks and interviews and classes about medical foster care. 6 weeks of James visiting Lily every day, bringing Cameron with him once he was well enough to walk. Is she going to be our sister? Cameron asked on one of these visits, watching Lily sleep after a particularly rough treatment. If she wants to be, if we can make it work. She should be. She's brave. And she makes you smile again. James realized his son was right. Somewhere between opening a tin and reading a letter, between sitting through treatments and learning to recognize the warning signs of complications, Lily had become essential. When the approval finally came through, James went to tell Lily himself. She was in her room at the foster home, a small space she shared with 2 other girls, her few possessions neatly organized in a single drawer. Lily, I need to talk to you about something. She looked up from her book, immediately wary. In her experience, serious talks meant bad news. You know, I've been going through the foster process. She nodded, not daring to hope. It's approved. If you want, and only if you want, you can come live with Cameron and me. The book fell from Lily's hands. Really? Really? But I need you to understand what you're choosing. I'm not perfect. Cameron's still recovering. Our house is messy and we eat too much takeout and sometimes we forget to do laundry. But we'll show up for you. Every treatment, every appointment, every scary moment. We'll be there. Why? Lily whispered. Why would you do this? Because your mom was right. You chose me that day in the hospital, and it changed my life. You reminded me what it means to fight, to hope, to care about something beyond just surviving. You gave me purpose again, Lily. Let me return the favor. Lily launched herself at James, wrapping her thin arms around his waist. Yes, yes, please. I want to come home with you. The first night in James's house, Lily stood in the doorway of her new room, Cameron's old playroom, hastily converted, and cried. "What's wrong?" James asked, alarmed. "Is it not okay? We can change things." "It's perfect," Lily sobbed. "It's too perfect. I'm scared I'll wake up and it will be a dream." Cameron, leaning on his crutches in the hallway, said, "It's real. Trust me. I pinched myself like 50 times the first day Dad said you might come live with us." They settled into a routine. James learned the medication schedule, the dietary restrictions, the warning signs of complications. Cameron learned to be gentle when Lily was having a bad day, to make her laugh when the fear got too heavy, to simply exist beside her when she needed silent company. The treatment continued, brutal rounds of chemotherapy that left Lily weak and nauseated. But now she didn't face them alone. James held her hand through every infusion. Cameron sent her funny videos to watch during the long hours. The house became covered in Lily's artwork, created on good days when her hands were steady enough to hold brushes. Slowly, so slowly James almost didn't notice at first, they became a family. Not the family any of them had planned, but a family nonetheless. Month 4 of treatment brought a crisis. Lily's body wasn't responding to the protocol. Her white blood cell count dropped dangerously low. She developed an infection that put her back in the hospital, this time in isolation. James and Cameron could only see her through a window, unable to touch her, unable to comfort her in the way she needed most. "I'm scared," Lily whispered through the intercom, clutching the jade bracelet. "What if this is it? What if I don't get better?" "You will," James said with more confidence than he felt. "You're strong. You're fighting. But what if fighting isn't enough?" Cameron pressed his hand against the glass. "Then we fight harder. All of us. Together." The doctors started a new protocol, aggressive and risky. The side effects were severe. High fevers, hallucinations, pain that medication could barely touch. Lily spent more days unconscious than awake. James sat outside her room for hours, sometimes joined by Cameron, sometimes alone. He read to her through the intercom, telling her stories about the life waiting for her on the other side of this. He told her about the plans they'd made, the art classes she wanted to take, the trip to the beach to scatter her mother's ashes in the ocean, the big bedroom they'd paint together once she was strong enough. "Please," he whispered on the worst night, when the doctors warned him to prepare for the worst. "Please don't take her. Not now. Not when she's finally found home." The turn came on day 12 of the new protocol. Lily opened her eyes and asked for water. Small thing, but it was the first time in days she'd been fully conscious. "Dad." Her voice was barely a whisper through the intercom. James was on his feet instantly. "I'm here, sweetheart. I had a dream about Mom. She said it wasn't time yet. She said I still had things to do." "You do. So many things." Over the next week, Lily improved. Slowly, painfully, but steadily. Her counts came up. The infection cleared. The doctors used words like responding and promising and finally, remission. The day Lily was allowed out of isolation, Cameron hugged her so tight James worried he might hurt her. "Don't ever scare us like that again," Cameron said, his voice muffled against her shoulder. "I'll try not to," Lily promised. The courtroom was packed with people who'd become family over the past year. Ms. Rodriguez was there, smiling. Lily's doctors and nurses, who'd fought beside her. Mrs. Garcia from the foster home, crying happy tears. And Cameron standing proudly beside his sister. "Lily Chen," the judge said, looking down at the small girl with kind eyes. "Do you understand what adoption means?" "Yes, Your Honor. It means James and Cameron will be my real family. Forever." "And is that what you want?" "More than anything. Mr. Mitchell, you're taking on significant responsibility. Lily will need continued medical monitoring, possible future treatment. Are you prepared for that?" James looked at Lily, at her bright eyes and nervous smile, at the jade bracelet she still wore every day. He thought about a tin box and a letter and a mother who'd known exactly what her daughter would need. Your Honor, a year ago, a little girl asked me to help her open a box her mother left her. Inside was a letter that told her to trust the person who helped her, because she'd chosen them for a reason. Every day since then, I've been grateful she chose me. So yes, I'm prepared. Because Lily isn't responsibility, she's family. She already was. This just makes it official. The gavel came down. Congratulations to the Mitchell family. That night, they scattered some of Lily's mother's ashes in the ocean at sunset, just as they'd planned. Lily stood between James and Cameron, the jade bracelet on her wrist, Daisy the doll tucked under her arm. "Mom," she said to the water and the sky and the setting sun. "I found them, the family you promised I'd find. They're everything you said they'd be. Thank you for the tin. Thank you for the letter. Thank you for knowing exactly what I'd need." She turned to James and Cameron. "And thank you for being strong enough to open it." "Thank you for choosing us," James said, pulling both his children close. As the sun set and painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, three people stood together. Not the family any of them had been born into, but the family they'd chosen. Built from loss and hope, from a tin box and a letter, from the courage to ask for help and the kindness to give it. Lily's mother had been right. Love multiplies when you share it. And sometimes the most broken pieces fit together to make something whole. The tin box sits on the mantel now, beside photos of all three of them. Inside, new memories accumulate. Ticket stubs from movies, pressed flowers from the garden, a drawing Cameron made of their family. The old treasures remain, honored but no longer alone. Because that's what family does. It honors the past while building the future. It holds space for grief and joy, for memory and hope. It grows around the broken places until they become part of the story, scars that prove survival, that show where light got in. Every morning, Lily wakes up in her own room, in her own home, with her own family. She touches the jade bracelet and whispers thanks to the mother who prepared her for this moment, who knew that sometimes the hardest thing you can do is trust a stranger with your heart. And every morning, James wakes up grateful that a little girl chose him, that she saw something in him worth trusting, that she gave him the chance to be not just a father to one child, but two. They have breakfast together, sometimes pancakes from the recipe book, sometimes cereal, always together. They face each day as a team, knowing that whatever comes, they'll handle it the way they've handled everything else. Together, because family isn't just about blood. It's about choosing each other, day after day, in the big moments and the small ones. It's about opening boxes and hearts and lives to let love in, even when you're scared, even when it's hard. Lily learned that from her mother, and now she's teaching others. One day at a time, one choice at a time, one open heart at a time. The tin that held her past helped build her future. And inside every heart that was brave enough to open, there's room for more love than you ever imagined possible. You just have to be strong enough to turn the lock, and brave enough to look inside.